they're telling me that we are one. God is one. There's one God. We are one. And in life, with um, materialistic things and things that we think are so important that we argue about that really essentially mean nothing. Um, and when it comes to religion, it's okay if you're believing in something while you're human and you're here, and you're doing certain practices that aren't harmful or vindictive. you know God doesn't really mind that, but the realization is when we pass on, we're all the same.
I'm here today with Jennifer Morris, who has had two near death experiences. She's also had other spiritually transformative experiences, including out of body experiences and a vision of world reset, plus much more. Jennifer, thank you so much for being my guest today. I'm looking forward to this.
Thank you so much for having me, Tia. I'm excited to share my stories.
Well, the pleasure is mine. I'm really looking forward to this. If you want to start, where do you think is a good place to start? I'll just let you guide the way.
Okay. um, I'm Jennifer Morris from the Chicago suburbs, lived in Illinois my entire life. Throughout my life, I've had a slew of health issues, but began with spinal issues severely in the 2000s. Subsequently, in um, 2017, I began a series of surgeries, spinal surgeries, one after the other. Unfortunately, one of those surgeries handicapped me, and I had to learn how to walk. I have some permanent disabilities from that. But I also look at that as a huge life lesson. I learned a lot about myself and my strength and my personality. So in January of 2022, I had my second low back spinal fusion that went well. um, Signed an agreement to come home, which was fine with me because I was already a veteran to having surgeries. Came home, ate dinner with my family, laid down, and I guess within 2 hours, my family had come to check on me. I was already incoherent, babbling, throwing my arms and legs around. They called the paramedics. Paramedics didn't really know what was going on. They knew I had a surgery, but they took me to the hospital, which is about 10 minutes away. The ER physicians, there was about a team of, I don't know, 8 or 9 doctors working on me. But the lead physician, Dr. Jankowski, I eventually, a few months later, did get to speak to him. And he, I told him the entire near death story. And we verified a time when I had seen myself in the ER, the exact moment. So that was verified. And, that gave me confirmation that, oh, okay, I was in the afterlife and I was having an out of body experience. I knew what was going on. But while these doctors worked on me, they told me it was an hour, like an hour and 15 minutes. They gave me all kinds of medications. They drained my lung. Um, I had oxygen, and they were about to intubate me, and all my organs were just shut down. So at that point, Dr. Jankowski said it wouldn't have been worth it. Um, I was going to die. And he told me that he pulled up a chair, sat next to me, and waited for me to die. I did not die. I was eventually taken up to a room um, on a floor where most of the patients were dying of COVID. Um, but 3 days later, I woke up. There was a doctor standing over me that called me a miracle. But I believe I went into this near death experience in the ER because I saw myself in the ER. And immediately, as I got into the afterlife, um, there was just this peace and calm. It's like, you know, all the chaos around you, but you're like blocking it out, and you're so peaceful and so calm, and no matter what is happening, you're okay with it. And I was perfectly fine. I knew where I was. I knew I was in the afterlife. I knew I was in the presence of the white light. I knew that in front of me there were these large golden orbs that were like radiating, but you could also still see through them. And um, I could see off to the left of me 10 family members they were all actually in my first near death experience with me in a different hospital ER room. But below me it was almost like cut in half. I was in this grayish white, tranquil, um, heavenly, peaceful place. And then below me was just dark, black, but I could also see large, sharp, razor sharp slate rocks. And I've seen, if you want to call them demonic, dark energies, and souls, people, no clothing, and they were basically, from what I seen, was being tortured. They were not allowed to rest. They were not allowed to sit. They were not allowed to lay down. Their feet were cut up. They were all bloody. These entities that were pushing them around were all bloody, but these entities had, like, it was almost like their skin was burnt, but it was smooth. And their faces were like wrinkled and distorted and grotesque, and but their bodies were very muscular. So I realized that this was a hell. um, Immediately when I was in the more heavenly space, the golden orbs, which I've come to find through research that they are sometimes thought of as being angelic, golden angelic spirits. And they started speaking to me telepathically. My eyes were not open. I could see my whole body floating horizontally. And I also could see 360 degrees around. It was just vast openness. But where the white light was off ahead of me in the distance, it was so bright that you almost couldn't look into it. And I knew, just instinctually, I knew, I'm like, that's heaven, that's where God is. And I could see billions of the golden orbs going in and out of it, in and out of it. There was just so many, it had to be billions. Um, and they told me I was awaiting a decision. They also said, we know you're very inquisitive, but we cannot tell you everything that is known, because if you do not stay in heaven, if you go back to earth, the human brain does not have the capacity to withstand all the knowledge that God has. But they did say they were willing to give me, little bits of information. Um, I was told that my family was there for my comfort, that they were only speaking to me, but they were just there so I knew it was a safe place. Um, they told me a little bit about reincarnation and how if they decide, like a new baby's being born, they can take one, um, they can take whoever, a previous family member. They could actually add two souls. But what happens, from what I was told, is that the chromosomes and the DNA, everything can be a little bit enhanced. So each time somebody would be reincarnated, it's like, um, how do I say it? It's just, it's like the human itself has less issues in life, more knowledge, you know, all the good stuff that make people so intelligent. But I was also, um, I was given a short life review. I seen my whole life. Um, I continually ask for forgiveness and pray and have asked God for help throughout my entire life. I was brought up Catholic. Um, I believe in asking for forgiveness and repenting my sins. So I do that frequently, but we went through the life review, and I frequently talk to God about all the things I do wrong as well. So um, they're very aware of the things that I already know that I've done wrong. Um, but they also told me that they were going to take me to planets. And all of a sudden, I had like this, I don't know, it's like a whooshing feeling, like, and it's so hard to describe, because in the afterlife, your energy, your frequency, and you're made up of particles, elements, you know, and I could feel that essence just being like bush, like so fast, like if you went down a super fast, huge water slide, just whoo. And then all of a sudden we were at um, 5 planets, and they were different colors. They were like a brownish red, a greenish, blackish white, um, a yellowish, kind of mucky, mustardy color, a reddish, and a like a orangish. But a couple weeks ago, I did finally say, hey, why am I not looking up that these planets may actually be out there? And I found planets 17 million light years away that look exactly like what I saw. So I'm sure some might say that that could be a coincidence, but yeah, I find it kind of miraculous. Um, so all of a sudden we were back into that grayish space, and I was there horizontally, and they're telling me that we are one. God is one. There's one God. We are one. And in life, with um, materialistic things and things that we think are so important that we argue about, that really essentially mean nothing. Um, and when it comes to religion, it's okay if you're believing in something while you're human and you're here, and you're doing certain practices that aren't harmful or vindictive. you know God doesn't really mind that. But the realization is when we pass on, we're all the same. We're all energy, we're all frequency, we're all um, knowing God, living in God's afterlife. And I was told that there's different levels. There's different levels of what we call heaven, and different levels of hells. The hell that I was shown, they called a lesser hell. And the level that I was on, they claim that I've been there before. They claim that I was part of it. And that's part of the reason why I was so comfortable there. Um, and that level is a level where um, the golden angelic orbs told me that they call themselves greeters. Not everybody, but certain souls go to that level when they pass on. Um, and its energy frequency, it has to do with quantum physics. I was told that the universe, us, matter, everything can be explained through quantum physics. Subsequently, 3 months after my experience in the hospital, I sat up and did auto writing, and I wrote down a bunch of symbols, elements, things from the periodic table, numbers that are associated with quantum physics that are supposedly important. Later in the afternoon, I remembered that I was writing something, and I looked around my room and I found the paper. So I researched it, and everything that was written on it um, pointed to the spark of life. So to me, that's another instance that is telling me, okay, I did have this experience in the afterlife and they're trying to tell me something. Um, I was told that um, everything's about love. Love is love. Um, I've, this may be controversial, but I was told that if there are same-sex relationships, if it is true, honest, um, true love in the heart, following God's word, there's not an issue with God. Um, and a lot of my experience seemed to match up with revelations. I have equated it to scriptures from John and the apostles, um, even Jesus. I actually had an out of body experience with Mary, um, but what else? I eventually was told by these golden orbs that I was waiting the decision, but God needed to speak to me. So I all of a sudden am enveloped in this voice that additionally made me more calm, if that was even possible, but no fear. Um, and this voice, stern, strong, straightforward, said to me, I'm going to give you a vision of a world reset. And all of a sudden, I see the ocean opening up between Japan and California, um, to unbelievable depths that just blow away anything we see, like with tsunamis or um, earthquakes. Seven, that 7 mile trench, much deeper than that. And Japan gets swallowed up like almost immediately. Then it starts opening towards California. That fault line just completely cracks off. And at this point, I'm seeing roots in the dirt. I'm seeing the dirt, I'm seeing the rocks, that the water splashing over, and it just keeps going like through the equator. and around, and the Gulf, Texas, Florida, all of that is just being swallowed up, and it's getting so deep and so powerful that everything is like being sucked in. But at the same time, you're having buildings falling, plants blowing up, fire, um, trees, whole forests collapsing into each other. I could see people climbing on things and the looks on their faces. I could see the looks on their faces, just pure terror. I mean, this is it. This is the end. This is a scenario that I was told that this is not one that us as humans that we are now will come back from. Um, I could see animals and pets, and I keep getting this poor little image of this little kitty struggling, and he was a little orange kitty, and he's just struggling and fighting in this water that keeps going over him, and everything's falling on him, and he's popping up, and I'm gonna cry. And all these types of scenarios, and I'm seeing it in detail, and I'm seeing farm animals and horses and everything in all parts of the world. And it's just so strong that even the icebergs and the mountains and everything is just being swallowed. Everything's being crushed. Land is being pushed down. Fire, just immense amounts of water everywhere, that to heights that way surpass tsunamis. And eventually this will all settle. And I can even see that. I could see it's so calm, and it's actually peaceful. I could see the sky, and I could see it's almost like dusk, but I can also see like stars, little stars, but it's like a bluish white nighttime dusk sky. And I could see the water finally is getting to the point where it's settling, and it's just rippling, and it's just like it's over. And at some point, God does eventually decide. He tells me that he's eventually going to bring back land to the earth, and he's thinking there's not going to be free will. There will be no evil, um, but there will be a kind of human hybrid, I guess, if you want to call it alien, but a mixture of not completely human inhabitants and different types of what we call animal, different types of species. It will be a whole new world, to the point where we're not going to take things for advantage, or the inhabitants won't take things for advantage. They won't destroy the planet, live in harmony. Um, this is God's vision. And then he kept telling me within 30, within 30, within 30. So I took that as possibly 30 years. And then he said, this is a scenario that is one of many. He said, I understand what's is said in the Bible, but time is going on, and there may be different scenarios, but fire is definitely an element of it, no matter what scenario happens. I got the vision, and then he said to me that I want you to share everything that you've been through here in the afterlife. I want you to be able to communicate the Bible and share this vision with the world. He said, you're probably have to work on your communication and studying the Bible, but that's what I want you to do for me. And there's absolutely no way that I would say no, because there's so many times in my life when I know that um, I really shouldn't be here, not just including the attempted suicide, the ability to walk, the dying of sepsis. So that's just three of them. I almost got picked up by a serial killer. There was another person that I went with that was not very nice, that had plans and didn't follow through with them because he told me. Um, I made a lot of bad choices when I was younger, and I was lucky to live through them. Um, so I know God has always been there for me. Like I said, I've always gone back um, and fell back on my Catholic faith, my Catholic beliefs. Although I did marry Lutheran, I am in a Christian college, but I'm trying to be objective. I'm trying to understand all religions' points of view, because I know it doesn't make a difference. We're sitting here fighting these wars. We're fighting with countries. We're fighting with our own government for nothing, really for nothing. Because in the end, it's not going to mean anything. The power struggles and the dictators and all that stuff, God is fed up with, and he wants it to change. So if we can't handle this, if we can't change our world around, God's going to do it. And I really don't feel bad about that. I mean, it it's horrifying, it's terrible, but I know that the trajectory that this world is on, it's not going to change. So, um, after God spoke to me, he said, "You're not staying." And all of a sudden, I woke up in the hospital room 3 days later, about 3 days later, and a doctor was standing over me, and he said, "You're a miracle. Why are you here? You shouldn't be here." And still don't have any oxygen, a lot to my brain, and I'm going, okay, sure, yeah. And it took me a couple days to finally grasp what these doctors are saying to me, because each one of the doctors, I had 7 different doctors, and each one would come in and they're like, "Oh, there's a miracle, there's a miracle girl." And finally got a grasp on what happened, because eventually, on the last day of being in the hospital, I had screamed out because I remembered the beginning part of my near-death experience, and I just screamed out, "Oh, wow." And there's a nurse, outside the hallway. She's like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm fine. I just remembered something very important." And so I had gone home that night, that last day, and that night began horrific nightmares about the hell, which I just woke up screaming and crying and shaking. I think I cried every day for 6 months, no matter where I went. I was crying so much to my doctor that he diagnosed me with PTSD. I finally did get into, through looking on the internet, to Chicago Ions, and some wonderful women there helped me out with my distressing experience, and began my journey on understanding how to deal with this, and the different things I can do spiritually, or to protect myself from dark energies and things like that. So um, I have been meditating. I just sent my book off to the publisher, which I'm very excited about. Finally. um, and then, I join a lot of the meetings and do the podcasts, and get my word out, actually get God's word out. So um, hopefully we can change our world. because, you know, on top of thinking about my experiences every day, I'm also sad. I'm sad to see the state of the world, and I know that God is upset about it and wants it changed. And I know God wants to save everybody. So this is my mission. This is what I'm doing. I'm not saying any more than what I seen, what God asked of me, what happened to me. Um, God ultimately told me that, you know, I want you to do this, but it's ultimately each person's choice. They're either going to listen or they're not. So that's what I'm doing, and I'm happy to do it. I've also went back to college, Colorado Christian University, and um, just trying to find more ways to get the word out along the way. So
You had an out of body experience with Mother Mary. Can you tell me about that?
I did. Um, I was watching The Passion, and at the point where Jesus is on the cross and Mary is crying at his feet, I I went into her. I felt every ounce of anguish, just pure despair. I felt that she also knew how important it was of what Jesus was doing for us. She knew that. Ooh, I'm gonna cry. But it also tore her apart. Um, she knew what God wanted, and she knew what Jesus was asking of us and what Jesus wanted for us, how to live, how to treat each other. She was just completely torn apart. I felt that anguish, and um, you know, she just wanted to get him off of that cross so bad. And um, I just began to cry, and I felt that emotion, and I cried so hard. Um, and I felt all her emotion, and I just cried so hard, harder than I've ever cried or felt emotion in my life. And it was a very unique experience. I truly felt like I was in Mary's body. And then all of a sudden, I came back to my body, and I just, I don't know, I just felt like a pile of brokenness. Um, and yeah, it was very intense and a very unique experience.
Wow.
So, you know, um, my other near death experience was due to domestic violence. I attempted suicide. I swallowed like 60 Xanax, and um, it was odd because after I took the Xanax, I kind of like just passed out. But I literally it felt like somebody tapped me on the shoulder, and I woke up and called 911. So I woke up in a mental facility after that, but I had seen the same family members in that near death experience, but they were actually in the hospital room. They were in a group to the right, but my grandmother was standing next to me talking to me. So it's actually cool to see her. I really loved her. But yeah, so that one was brief, but I didn't take that one too seriously yet. So I think this second near death experience was really to wake me up. Yeah. So
Do you think that we have a chance still to avoid the world reset vision that you saw?
I do. Um, it's going to take an immense amount of work. Um, People have to not just listen to our stories, they have to understand. They have to have that same knowing that we know that God is there for us, that God wants us to live in a proper way where we can teach each other our skills, where we can be there for each other, our friends, our neighbors, whoever. There's absolutely no reason that we have to live in this life without anything. There's whole countries that are starving. There's just such chaos and stupidity happening for no reason. We're doing this to ourselves. We're creating our own problems. And I don't know what it's going to take for dictators or leaders of other countries to wake up and start, quit poisoning your people, quit committing war crimes, all these things that are happening. It's just completely unnecessary. What is so wrong with being happy? What is so wrong with living contently side by side with each other?
Mhm.
It's how we're supposed to be living.
Mhm. Did you come back from your experiences with any kind of gifts like clairvoyance?
I did. I came back with a psychic ability that really shocks me every time it happens. I've normally, if I go out in public, it's happened 3 times on the internet. Um, I get this feeling in my core, and it's almost like a magnetized feeling. And then it's like it tells my brain to, okay, pay attention because you're going to get information. And then something will just come to me about that person. And whether it's something of great importance or something that's kind of ridiculous, like um last week I got somebody I met on the internet, and I got her associating a scent with a family member, which, that's nothing of great importance, but I was accurate. And I don't understand why that happens, but it's happened 9 times. There was one that was most profound, and that was with a girl in a restaurant, and I seen a male in her life that passed on, and I seen an aura around her. It was like this whitish, light yellow, light blue aura around her and this man. And then I got information that he wanted me to tell her that he is now her guardian angel, that she doesn't have to worry about him, and he'll be watching over her. And I put myself on the line. When she got up, I got up. I said, please don't think I'm crazy. But I said, you have somebody recently that was close to you, a male that passed away, right? And she said, yeah. And I said, well, he wants me to tell you that he's now your guardian angel and not to worry about him. And she just burst out in tears. And I'm just standing there going, am I right? I mean, really, am I right? And she thanked me. And, then we both started crying. And I think that was the most profound one. But it keeps happening. And I don't know why. Some people attribute it to the dark side. Some people say it's a gift that I should use. So I don't know. I just try to do what God asked me to do.
Yeah. I think it would be a gift if it was given by God.
Yeah, I do too.
Is there a way that others can help to develop their own skills like that?
Help to build their own skills for psychic ability.
Yeah, so is there a way that others can, or a technique that you can recommend where they can deepen their connection with God to develop these skills as well?
What I have learned for myself is that um, if I'm hearing something that nobody else is hearing, pay attention to it. If um, a certain circumstance keeps happening, pay attention to it. If you keep hearing a certain phrase or words, pay attention to it. Basically, it's listening to your instincts and paying attention to um, kind of oddities. Um, I had got at one point a few months back, I got this really bad feeling. And for like a whole week, I'm like, something's not right, something's wrong. And then all of a sudden, I got a phrase in my head that said, "Be aware, be aware." And a week later, um, somebody that was a former pastor contacted me and started asking me to do things for him and trying to connect with me based on my experiences. And I researched him, and a very bad person, been arrested multiple times. And then I thought back, I'm like, oh, okay. That's why I had that feeling. That's why I got the information, beware. I was being told ahead of time that, to look out. And I'm very grateful for that because I paid attention to that. And this person briefly was in my life, and I knew why I was being warned. So it's a lot about just paying attention to signs, for me at least.
How has your life changed moving forward after your experience?
Um, Things have gotten better in my life. I mean, I'm happier. Um, I don't worry about a lot. God told me not to have fear about things. So I know I have already got so many health problems and gaining more. I'm just taking everything as it comes in stride, um, doing what's positive. I try to keep everything negative out of my life. If I'm feeling negative energy around me, I'll do a cleansing. I will meditate. I listen to sound therapy. I'm definitely, um, I definitely have had a spiritual transformation. Um, Before I wasn't sure. Now I'm very sure of God and the afterlife and what's expected of us. And I just want to do the right things. I just want to do the right things and be happy and have others learn not only from my near death experience, but the other things that I've been through. I don't want to see people have hard times. I don't want to see people go through bad things. And it just gets me at my core now. And before, in the past, the old me, I couldn't care less. But now it's like, okay, I know why I'm here. I know what my purpose is.
And what is your purpose?
To share God's word, to help others that may be suffering, struggling. And uh, I keep hearing from people, you're one person, you can't save the world. And I keep saying, why not? Why can't I? So, in my mind, I have a purpose to save the world. I know it's a huge load, And it does get stressing at times, but I think I'm strong enough. It doesn't matter to me if people come at me and they say, oh, well, they want to say negative things or tell me I'm wrong or whatever. Say whatever you want to me because you're not hurting me. You're ultimately hurting what God wants. You're hurting God. You're not hurting me. I'm just a person. Say what you want about me.
Are you afraid to die?
No, no, I just don't want to right now because, I'm hoping to see a grandchild, but yeah, I'm not afraid to die. I know what's there for me. I know God's there for me. I know family's there for me. So, and I know we can potentially, come back. I'm just hoping that we change the world around. That's my biggest hope. I'm so tired of seeing the suffering. I would just say, each day, just try to be the best you. Um, Try not to worry about frivolous things. Try not to argue about things that don't matter. If you have a friend or family member that needs help, maybe go out of your way a little bit just even give them a few kind words. Sometimes even a few kind words help somebody. Um, on a higher end, I mean, we can always do protests, get involved with, other communities that are fighting all the terrible issues of our world. But we need to act, we need to be involved, and we need to listen.
If my viewers wanted to reach out to you if they had questions, would that be okay?
Yeah, sure, that'd be fine.
How can they
I'm
find
on Facebook. Yeah, Jennifer Chris Adams on Facebook.
you? Okay, that sounds great. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for being my guest today. It was a pleasure to be able to speak with you for this time. I appreciate you very much.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you being here and supporting my channel. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing if you enjoy near-death experiences and other spiritually transformative stories. It helps the algorithm know that this information is useful and push it out to more people, and that's the goal, to get as many people to know that we are eternal spiritual beings and that we never die. Our bodies might die, but our essence will never die. And I want people to live with less fear. Let's all spread the word. Like, comment, subscribe, share, hit that little notification bell so you get all the notifications when my videos post. Thank you for all of your support. I'm sending love to you.